Okay, very productive afternoon. This is where the water heater was. That's gone. The furnace exit, that's gone. Refrigerator, that's gone. So, I could just say one thing at this point. It's a good thing this isn't a boat. That's all she wrote. Come on, little guy. Easy. We're going to reuse you. There we go. All right, now we're diving deep into the world of the galley cabinet in the Pleasure-Way. Pleasure-Way is a 170 Sprinter, 2010 Sprinter, 2011 Pleasure-Way Plateau TS. If you remember, a long time ago, I put in all these new water lines because I put in a larger sink and a new, very fancy professional chef's faucet. At the same time, I put the Lexan panel in. You know that whole story. Rather than simply replace the back wall of that cabinet box, I cut and installed a clear Lexan wall. That's right. Now I can watch those little buggers. I won't have to wonder or worry if they're leaking or even weeping. I can just take a look. I put a small bit of paper towel in the hole there, thinking if they ever did weep, the paper towel would wick it up and I would see it. I'll catch the problem before it rots out the floor of the van. Well, now, present day, I'm prepping this van and bringing it back to life for the next owner. And part of what I want to do is I want to gain access to my fresh water tank, which is right under this galley cabinet, just like I do in my vans that I build. There's a beautiful water tank under there, and I want access to it. So I'm going to cut a hole in this cabinet floor. That'll give me access to the top of the water tank. From what I can feel underneath, I've got about 1 inch of airspace from the bottom of this 1/2 inch plywood to the top of the tank. So I got to thinking, all right, how am I going to approach this job? I need to cut through this floor, and then I got to be able to get the inspection hatch through that hole. I've got to be able to cut a hole in the water tank to glue and screw the inspection hatch in. Well, I've got a baby circular saw, okay? Now, I bring my baby circular saw in, and my goodness, this is not a baby anymore, is it? These saws grow up so quickly. But in here, he's very big, and I just don't see myself being able to maneuver this saw around in here. So I went back to the maternity ward, and I got a newborn saw. Look at this guy. Isn't he cute? This is a newborn. This is actually a cutoff. It's a cutoff wheel. It's got a 20,000 RPM spin speed, so it's not good for wood. But if you get the right blade, this is a Dremel multi-purpose blade, you can cut plywood with it. I wouldn't do it all day long, but here I got to make 4 cuts. Now with this little newborn, I can definitely come around and control plunge cuts. I'd have to finish off the plunge cuts with some type of a handsaw. But I can work in here with this. So then I'd have a nice big rectangular hole, and because there's a lip on this cabinet. I can fit a 1/4-inch piece of plywood in here, nice and clean, and that will be a false floor. It covers the hole. When you need to get access to the tank to inspect it, you put your finger in the thumb hole and out you go. You've got access through that hatch and your sender in the corner. So I said, okay, that's great. I think we're off to the races. But I took it a step further. If you remember this devil tool, this was the rotary tool I used to cut the countertop larger for my big sink. I used it to cut an outlet into the peninsula, both in the Pleasure-Way. This is a devil tool. I did not like this tool. It's very squirrely. When you use it for sheetrock, which is what the intended design of the tool was, it's okay. But I, of course, got to use it to cut corian and plywood. It's a little squirrely. But anyway, I thought maybe there's a way I can cut just the circle I need. If I'm putting in an 8-inch inspection hatch, then I'd need a 10-inch hole to be able to maneuver. A 10-inch hole up here, I'll get my 8.5-inch hatch down there. I'll be able to cut my hole in the water tank. So I made this little jig. And I set this is really the depth gauge for this tool. So I put that little piece of aluminum scrap that I had, I bent it, drilled it out, and I've got 3 different diameter holes here. Now I would screw this in to the center mark of this base, and then I could spin this around and I can cut myself a circular hole in here. Now look how easy it is to maneuver. I've got room. The tool's vertical more than it is anything else. Tall and skinny. So I can easily cut my circular hole. Now if after cutting that circular hole for the inspection hatch and cutting a 3-inch hole for my sender, I've decided I want more room, more access, then I call on the newborn. I can come in and I can cut past my hole with my newborn and just bring this right around and cut a nice big rectangle. It doesn't matter, the false floor is going to cover it, but it's going to be a very sweet access to this water tank. You'll be able to clean that water tank whenever you want. You'll be able to put eyes in there and see what's going on. It's something I like to do with all the vans. So I've got my hole and I've got this thing tested that it will spin all the way around. Okay, and then I've got my little vacuum hose here that I will periodically try to mitigate any dust flying through the air in the van here. Here we go, vacuum on. Okay, so far so good. I'd say that worked pretty well. Got a couple of little ginks, a little funky. Plenty of room down to my tank. So it was a little bit funky because my bit, you know, this depth gauge is not made very sturdy. It's not made to keep that blade in line, so I had to be very careful about how that blade swam around inside the hole that it was cutting in. And obviously there's a right way and a wrong way to spin this blade as it cuts. But overall, I'd say it was pretty good for a one-time cut. If I had to do this every day, I'd find a better solution. But this wasn't bad. I'll get this all cleaned up, and like I said, I'll smooth this and sand it, and then I'll do a round over with my router. This is a very exciting 80/20 module. I've been having a ball. I've been working on this all morning. What this is an end support for the utility tray in the Promaster van. And in terms of design, I boxed it out. I used my 2.5-inch pine. And since then, I have boiled it down to the simplest form. There are the fewest amount of pieces needed for this, and the way they extend out and work towards and lock into each other. See how this fits inside. Come on. This is so cool. Here's how this goes. And here's why it goes. That requires more explanation than anything else. That's a stand-in board. Okay, here's the way this works. Simple, simple, simple. Once you realize what it is I had to do, you'll understand how simple this is. Now, I'm going to be putting in a nice block in the back here. Okay, and right now I'm at my 54-inch mark. Okay. So here's the problem. Here's what I had to work with. I had to make sure that I could. Let me start over. I had to be sure that I could get two separate levels in this module. Here's how this is going to work. Up here. Okay, I'm not trimmed yet, but you'll see what I'm talking about in a minute. I've got one shelf up here. Okay, down that end, it's going to be for Sam's seasonal items. Down here, breakers and whatnot. Here, I've got my water tank. Okay. Now, this is all going to get screwed together now that I know it works. I did one side, and then I'll replicate it over there to a certain degree. But the reason this thing was a little more difficult to think through is because, can you see me now? I got my water tank here. Now, wait till you see this. Oh. This is the big Mama Luke battery, 600 amp hour. Actually, in this van, it's going to be 630 amp hours. A completely new system. I'm stoked. Wait till you see that system. Anyway, so look at that. This battery fits right in there. The way this all worked out with my water tank and my battery and my fender wells and my dividers. So, here's the deal. I have to put a microwave oven right here with a drawer out into the living space, okay? That microwave oven needs to sit right here so that it fits under my bed rails. Okay, I've got I-beam bed rails coming across, full span, clear span. Nothing in the middle here. So my microwave has a finite area to live in based on my water tank. Look at how this is designed. You can slide this battery out anytime you need to replace it or work on it. Water tank can slide right out. Now here, I will remove these two cross pieces, support them here, and put my inspection hatch there. So this level is so I could fit the microwave under my bed. This level has to clear the the wheel well, okay? The wheel well in the Promaster is high. It's 16 inches off my 1/2-inch plywood. 1/2-inch plywood's glued to the van floor. This is 16 inches up to clear this wheel well. Not so in the Sprinter. Sprinter's much lower, but wider because it's a dually. We'll get there. So what I needed was, I needed 2 levels, stout as can be, and modular. Easy to put together and take apart. Simple, elegant in design. That's, I think, what I've accomplished. I'm very excited about this. So now I know this works. I spent the morning working on it. A couple things I have to order, but now I'll be able to duplicate this on that side. Now, right across the aisle here, where the refrigerator used to be, I have to take out this little subfloor. There's a little raised flooring here. I guess brought the refrigerator up to flush with this cutout. But I'm going to be putting... How'd you get in there? I'm going to be putting a battery in here, that new Lithionics battery. So I'm going to take this subfloor out, examine what's under here. I know there's a vent to the road under here, probably for the propane that was in this absorption fridge. So here's where I'm at now. I took the screws out of this flooring. I cut my caulk lines. I still can't get it out. So I've got this closet bar. It came out of the closet, actually. And I'm just fishing around under here to see if I've got a clear shot. Now there seems to be something running across right here. It could be a support. It could be a pipe. It feels like it goes right across right here. So I'm going to cut a hole, an inspection. I'm going to just cut this away so I can see what I'm dealing with down there. That's the next step. So I took my tape measure and I put it under here and I ran it straight out until I hit the obstruction. Okay, it looks like it's just shy of 12 inches out. And whatever it is, it goes all the way across. So I'm going to go in 11 inches. I'll go in 10 inches. I'll make this even safer. So here's what I'll do now. I'll go in 10 inches, 9, right there, stay at 10. All right, I'm not going past that line with my cut. All right, let's finish this cut. See? All right, let's see if we can get the rest of this cut out. All right, can you see me? Yeah, there I am. So, as it turns out, this piece under here is a support piece. It's very strong. This is only 1/2-inch plywood, but I'm okay here. There's no reason to take this piece out, so I'll just clean up this cut. I left myself plenty of room so I can make a nice square clean cut. Get this out of here. big ventilation hole here. And I imagine this is to create the convection. Well, you got a grill here and a grill there. I guess that's for the propane, because it was sitting under an elevated floor, and this whole bottom section, you can see where the floor ended, right? That false floor. So I guess the propane, it is a fallacy that it's heavier than air, but I guess they figured that's going to come down and exit this way. Well, we don't have to worry about propane anymore because there is no propane anymore. So I'm going to clean up these cuts. I'm sealing up this hole. I don't need that anymore. Look at the road dust. The dirt in here is disgusting. And that's just from a decade of driving around and having all that dust, road dust coming up through that hole. And bugs. I got plenty of bugs come through that hole. I don't know how they got into my bedroom, but they did. So we're going to clean this up. And then I'm going to support this with a new platform for my battery. My baby Mama Luke. That's what's coming in here, my baby Mama Luke. When you see this thing, you're going to love it.